quality. I'm glad you came today, and it is my hope that you'll find something here that nourishes your heart, feeds your mind, and grows your spirit. My name's Carol Kappa, and I will be your worship leader this morning. Be you a spiritual seeker, an atheist, or a theist, Westside is a community of many beliefs, genders, and sexualities. A community of diverse cultural, racial, and class backgrounds. A community of varied abilities and gifts. Some people here find inspiration in the great books, others in the great outdoors, and others still in great conversations. So whoever you may be, all are welcome here in our inclusive congregation. And so to newcomers and old friends alike, we all say together, welcome. At Westside, we are raising the next generation of Unitarian Universalists, and we want them to know that they are an important part of our community. Several years ago, we chose to be radically inclusive and to adopt a multi-generational worship, where our services include all family members, and so welcome to all children and youth of all ages. There are a number of announcements included in your order of service today, so please take any of those with you that you might need for reminders this week or share with others. And there are two items in particular that I would like to call to your attention. Today is the last day to sign up for our Circle Suppers. Our first dinner together is scheduled for Saturday, October 7th, but the organizers need to have all registrations of interest by today, so that she can make the assignments for the hosts and the participants. So there is a place out in the lobby, there's a big poster and some sign-up sheets if you still want to sign up and be included in a group to meet together next Saturday. Today there's a potluck after the service, and this will be the last time then to sign up for those Circle Suppers. Please contact Glenda Hood if you need more information about the Circle Suppers. And for members, you received an email last Friday with an opportunity to approve or disapprove the revised 2023-2024 budget. The email contains details about the changes as well as a copy of the revised budget. There is a link there that will take you to a 3-answer Google form, or if you prefer, there are paper ballots available outside the rear sanctuary door here today. Thank you for taking time to share your vote. And now for those of you who are joining us online or visiting with us here today, if you are not already on our mailing list, please sign up by clicking the link at the bottom of our westsideuu.org website. And for those of you here in person with us, please take a moment to silence all your devices. This morning, all elements of our service were prepared by our very own 8th Principle crew, a group of dedicated specifically to equip and educate our church community about the adoption of the 8th Principle, and made up of fearless leaders Cindy Fountain, Sue Anderson, Christina Sellers, Lane Craig, Jana Kennard, and Nikki Kennedy. During our reflection, Christina will explore 3 aspects of the 8th Principle's language, and we'll also hear from young UUs about why adopting the 8th Principle is important to them. Please join the crew immediately following the service for a vegetarian-focused potluck. Happy World Vegetarian Day, and continued small group conversations will take place at the potluck. So now I invite everyone to take a nice deep breath. And from wherever you are, please settle into this sacred space that we create. And let us worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude, Maple Leaf Rag by Scott Joplin and performed by Yuki Kumamoto.
Good morning. My name is Sue Anderson, and I'm the chair of the membership committee and also a member of the 8th Principal Crew. Our opening words, "It's hard work," are by the Reverend Rosemary Bray McNatt. For just as the body without the spirit is dead, faith without works is also dead. James 2:26. Why are we still talking about inclusivity and diversity when we have done so little to make them real? Why are we still looking pained about lack of diversity in the denomination? Because diversity, inclusivity, is terribly hard, terribly uncomfortable, definitely unsettling, and often quite frustrating. What I know about being inclusive, crossing from culture to culture, learning the language of diversity, is that is the work of a lifetime. It is hard to accept people who are not like you, who don't talk the way you do, or believe the things you believe, or dress or vote as you do. It's even harder to appreciate them for the things about them that are not like you, to find them interesting and fun, to enjoy the learning that's part of the experience, and to acknowledge finally that you may have to agree to disagree. The truth is, if there is no justice, there will be no peace. We can read Thoreau and Emerson to one another, quote Rilke and Alice Walker and Howard Thurman, and think good and noble thoughts about ourselves. But we cannot bring justice into the small, if we cannot bring justice into the small circle of our own individual lives, we cannot hope to bring justice to the world. And if we do not bring justice to the world, none of us is safe and none of us will survive. Nothing that Unitarian Universalists need to do is more important than making justice real. Here, where we are. Hard as diversity is, it is our most important task.
And now I invite 8th Principal Crew member Cindy Fountain and Westside Youth Aiden Lyles and Maddie Sellers to come forward and light our chalice this morning. The chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith and represents the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UUA. The flaming chalice, the flaming chalice symbolizes the heritage of our past, the warmth of community, and the light of hope within this church today.
Our chalice lighting words, the promise and the practice, are by the Reverend Rebecca Savage. We light our flaming chalice as a beloved people, united in love and thirsting for restorative justice. May it melt away the tethers that uphold whiteness in our midst. May it spark in us a spirit of humility. May it ignite in us radical love that transforms our energy into purposeful action. This is a chalice of audacious hope. The chalice shines a light on our shared past, signaling our intention to listen deeply, reflect wisely, and move boldly toward our highest ideals.
Our opening hymn is number 131, Love Will Guide Us, in the gray hymnal. Please stand if you're able and so moved, and join our song leader, Rocio Sarmiento Ayala.
To
please remain standing and join me in our affirmation projected on the screen and in your order of service. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to work for justice through action, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. And you may be seated. Now, if you'd like a closer look for our Time for All Ages, please come forward if you're young at heart. And our Religious Education Director, Nikki Kennedy, will be presenting that today.
Good morning. There's nothing like running down the hall just as you hear your name being called. Man, I'm so happy to see you guys today. We have a couple more cushions, Alice and Chloe. Sophia, would you and your daddy like a blue cushion maybe? And I have one for Reese and for his mom, Gwen. Hi, Reese. I am so thrilled to see all of you today and to meet some new friends. It's wonderful to see all of you. I want to share a little story that some friends of mine wrote. Did you know that love is a really big deal in Unitarian Universalism? You probably did. You've probably seen us talk about it. Maybe you've talked about it. Maybe you've seen some yellow shirts that are really popular. We talk about it a lot. Side with love. I don't know if anybody has on one of those shirts today, but quite often I see them. They're yellow shirts. They stand out. Justice is what love looks like in public. There was once a scientist, this guy who asked all kinds of people, all ages of people, all beliefs, not just Unitarian Universalists, what they thought of love and how important it was for them. His name was Robert Miller. Turns out, of all the groups he studied, of all the groups in the whole country that he studied, whether they were religious or not, UUs, that means Unitarian Universalists, that means this church, rank love as a core value more than anyone else. Love is a really big deal for us as UUs. Another big deal in Unitarian Universalism is our principles. Some of you know them, some of you have helped me make videos about them, some of you even have them memorized. Some of you act them out. Most of you act them out every day. Young and young at heart. We know they're a big deal because we have so many ways to talk about them, to make sure all the different brains and bodies and ages understand them. We have so many ways. Many people are familiar with the 7 principles. When Unitarian Universalism came into being in 1961, did you know there was only 6 principles? Only 6. So our 7th principle was proposed in 85 and added in 88. One way to imagine our principles was originally suggested by Barbara Wells Hove. It's called a keystone arc. Do you know what an arc or an arch is? Have you ever seen one? Maybe you've walked under one. They're kind of neat when people make them out of stone. It's like a doorway that we enter into what our faith calls us forward. It's kind of cool because the 4th principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, is at the very, very center. Holding together the space for us to balance between each individual's inherent worth and the needs of great community, of which we're a part. But do doorways or archways ever exist all by themselves. Do they just float in the air? No, not really. I wish too, that would be kind of fun, Aiden. They're usually stabilized on the ground, part of a larger building or a larger structure. And as we think about that larger building, that larger structure today, I invite you to watch this quick video with me.
What is the eighth principle? Well, you know our 7 principles, right? They're things that matter to us. Things that guide how we are as a community, how we treat each other, and what we want to bring more of into the world. Just like each of us is always learning and growing, we know our principles have to grow sometimes too. This is the story of the 8th principle. A few years ago, some UU leaders spoke up. They told us these principles we love, they left something out. Like many who'd come before them, they spoke about how people still aren't being treated fairly because of the color of their skin, or where they come from, or other things that make them who they are. And that happens not only in the world at large, but even in our congregations, even in this one. So we need to do more to make sure that all people can feel welcome and loved here. We need to say more about our commitments to fight against racism, because racism hurts everybody. In fact, it hurts all 7 of our principles. And so, the 8th principle was born. The 8th principle is a commitment to fight against racism and oppression, and to build a beloved community of love and trust and belonging here in our church and in the world around us.
So just like we figured out 35 years ago when we added this 7th principle because we knew some things are missing, maybe the missing principle is the ground upon which our doorway is built. Maybe it's the whole house of love we are always trying to create for ourselves, for each other, and for the world. Maybe if we add an 8th principle, we'll get closer to the beloved community that we dream about, where there is no oppression of any kind. I really want to be part of building this house of love. What about you? I'm so glad you guys are here today with your smiles and your giggles, and I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you.
All right, let's sing the children back to their seats at number 118, This Little Light of Mine. Good morning. I am also your pastoral care associate this morning. In our community here at Westside, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. And we do this because each person in our community has value. Each person's experiences matter. We would like you to submit your joys and concerns to our team by completing one of these forms at the welcome desk right outside the door here, or you can email us at pastoralcare@westsideu.org, or you can just contact any member of our team. We share our concerns with one another today, knowing that sorrows come into each person's life, knowing that together we can offer comfort. We have 2 concerns today. One is from Jeff Canclini, and he shared, I am facing a decision this month on which cancer treatment or treatments to take, radiation, hormone, or other, to attempt to eradicate residual prostate cancer following my prostate surgery last March. I am feeling great and loving my active life. This makes the decision difficult because I feel so healthy and the treatments can be debilitating with possible long-term effects. And there's also a concern from member Glenda Hood. One of her second cousins had an accident last night on the way home from Denton to her home in Wise County. She lost one arm and has several broken bones. She has a husband and 2 young adult daughters. Please keep this family in your hearts along with other concerns today. We share our joys today, knowing too that joy comes into our lives, knowing that together our voices rise in a chorus of celebration. And we have one joy today from Sue Spell and myself, Carol Kappa, and we want to thank everyone at Westside for the happy best wishes and birthday wishes that we enjoyed this week. And we finished up our week of celebrations by going to a play last night at the Bass Hall. And I guess the stars all aligned just correctly because the matinee apparently was canceled yesterday afternoon. But we went to see To Kill a Mockingbird last night at the Bass Hall, and we saw Richard Thomas, you know, John Boy from the Waltons, right? I'm dating myself. Everybody's very quiet out there. Come on now, y'all. John Boy from the Waltons, Richard Thomas. He played Atticus Finch in the play, and it was very wonderful. So thank you again. We had a great week. We make space each week for musical centering, knowing the life and experience of every person matters, and together our lights shine brighter. And as we hold all the joys and concerns among us, both those spoken and unspoken, let us center to number 1023, Building Bridges, in your teal hymnal, accompanied by Yuki Kumamoto.
Good morning. My name is Caroline Nixon, and I am a lifelong UU and believe fully in our principles. I invite you to relax your mind and body and join me in a time of meditation. You can close your eyes or you can keep them open. You can put both feet on the floor or you can cross your legs. It will begin with an introduction before we move into a minute of silence. Our prayer bowl will sound to signal the start of your own meditation, prayer, or reflection, and it will sound again at the end. Our introduction this morning is Prayer for While in the Struggle by the Reverend Marjorie Belizaire. Spirit of light and love, spirit of resistance, spirit of generosity, that which serves as our conscience in this work, that we do to dismantle white supremacy, to empower the marginalized, to insist that Black lives matter. We have been angered. We have been saddened. We have been pushed to the brink once more. We are also inspired and seem resolved to do this better this time. to not simply get to the other side of this moment, but to get there morally healthier, to get to a safer space for Black bodies. Spirit, help us to understand that we have a role in justice work. For our liberations are tied to one another's. Give us the clarity of mind to know that that part of our individual is the struggle. That there are many ways to protest injustice. Help us to find our way and to commit to it. Spirits, we ask for guidance. Send us strength and endurance. Help us to give our all to this and hold nothing back, for precious lives depend on it. We will be imperfect. Rest assured, we will mess up over and over again, and we must do it anyway. May we summon the courage to tear down this system of injustice and get busy creating a world community with justice for all. May we be good company to one another in our questions and our journey. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
The great end of all the world's faith traditions is to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. And in the spirit of generosity, Westside chooses to reach out to our wider community. Our plate offering for October is the Texas Jail Project. Texas Jail Project's mission is to liberate communities by organizing with and advocating for people incarcerated in Texas county jails and their loved ones. It works to redefine public safety, challenging mass incarceration at its front door, the county jail. It offers individual advocacy for people who are incarcerated, provides resources for families, and shares stories to shed light on the impact of jail on individuals, their families, and society. The sister of a formerly incarcerated woman said, "Without Texas Jail Project, I would not have known how to navigate the confusing complaint process with the Texas Commission on Jail Standards and to advocate for my sister. Her sister was hospitalized due to medical neglect in the Tarrant County Jail." Texas Jail Project advocates for policies that mitigate jail harm. It helped prevent the passage of Texas Senate Bill 1896, which would have eliminated investigations into custodial deaths classified as natural by amplifying its partner voices at the Capitol. Westsiders were advocates in stopping this bill. Texas Jail Project is led by an all-woman of color team. Historically, less than 1% of all philanthropic funding is given to women of color. Let's help change this. Please give generously as you are able in support of this very worthy cause. And now let us enjoy this musical offering, Georgia on My Mind, written by Hoagie Carmichael and Stuart Gorell in 1930, made famous by Ray Charles in 1960, and performed by Yuki Kumamoto. Great job. Thank you very much. Thank you for putting into practice the spiritual virtue of generosity. Our giving connects us to the wider web of our community, and thank you also for keeping your stewardship commitment current to help keep our congregation's important work going. Our reflection will be given today by Christina Sellers. Christina has been a member of Westside since 2015. She is from Fort Worth. She went to Boswell High School in Northwest Fort Worth and earned a degree in anthropology from the University of Texas in Austin. She stayed there 5 more years until moving back to DFW to pursue a degree in communication sciences and disorders at UT Dallas. She reports that she is generally overcommitted in life, raising 2 children, Maddie 8 and Martin 6, with her husband, Daryl, and she works as a speech therapist now for the Fort Worth Independent School District. She first reluctantly visited Westside about 8 years ago with Daryl and 6-month-old Maddie in tow. There was a social justice table set up that day, and she knew then that this was a community she wanted to be a part of. She participated in racial equity work called Courageous Conversations with her Fort Worth ISD colleagues before it came under fire by the Texas legislature, and participated in a covenant group here with a focus on anti-racism at Westside. She learned what she does know is minuscule in comparison to what she does not know, and is grateful for a community of folks committed to listening, learning, and doing better. I now welcome 8th Principal crew member Christina Sellers to the pulpit.
Morning. There we go. How's that? All right. Good morning, everybody. I want you to know I said not it first when the crew was discussing who was going to talk tonight, this morning, but as it turns out, this was the best way for me to contribute to this effort. So I want to thank the rest of the crew for all of their extremely hard work, giving me well-researched, smart, heartfelt, and what I think are eloquent words to say. Also, I just want to let you know when I get up in front of people, it's usually kids. And so I always kind of tell them how things are going to go with a visual that I put together like 2 minutes before going to see them. So it doesn't work that way here because you have to prepare things further in advance. Anyway, we're going to go over 3 sections: beloved community, racism and other oppressions, and then accountability. And since UU Youth have been so instrumental in keeping our tradition a living one, we're going to share a few clips from teens from a congregation in Rochester, New York. Paula Cole-Jones showed some of these clips during her presentation that she gave through the Texas UUJM a couple months ago. So could you put up the 8th principle slide, please? So the 8th principle says, we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote, journeying towards spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community, by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. The 8th principle is meant to be lived out in community. It calls us to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community, but it also asks us to dismantle oppression in community by finding ways to hold ourselves accountable for the work we are doing to live up to its ideals. Could you play the first 2 videos, please?
It's important, even if you're following it, to declare that you're following it, because it helps people, it helps the movement. And I'd say that if they're not following it, that they need to get with the times, basically, and they need to help the change, because they have,
So, beloved community is a term that was first coined in the early days of the 20th century by the philosopher, theologian Josiah Royce. However, It was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who popularized the term and invested it with a deeper meaning. For Dr. King, the beloved community was a realistic goal that could be attained by a critical mass of people committed to nonviolence. He believed the way to achieve this was not through acquiescence, but through standards of human decency that would not allow violence. Achieving beloved community will not allow for racism or any form of discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice. In a 1959 sermon, Dr. King elaborated on the after effects of choosing nonviolence over violence. He said, "The aftermath of nonviolence is the creation of the beloved community, so that when the battle's over, a new relationship comes into being between the oppressed and the oppressor." And as Susanna Whitman noted in the Plattsburgh UU 8th Principle Learning Community, if we are oppressed or if we are oppressors, neither of us is spiritually whole. When we end that dynamic, it frees us all and makes room for spiritual wholeness. So, what is the love of beloved community? The core value of the quest for Dr. King's beloved community was agape love. Agape love is unlike romantic or ascetic love or affection between friends. He described it as understanding, redeeming goodwill for all, an overflowing love which is purely spontaneous, unmotivated, groundless, and creative. He said, agape does not begin by discriminating between worthy and unworthy people. It begins by loving others for their sakes. Agape love is seeking to preserve and create community. Beloved community happens when people of diverse racial, ethnic, educational, class, gender, abilities, sexual orientation, backgrounds, and identities come together in an interdependent relationship of love, mutual respect, and care that seeks to realize justice within the community and in the broader world. This is the hope of beloved community within the 8th principle. One common question about the 8th principle is, if we're following the other 7 principles, aren't we already working towards dismantling racism and other oppressions? In a perfect world, that would be true. But Paula Cole-Jones, the original creator of the 8th principle, noted in her work with congregations that a person can believe they are being a good UU and following the 7 principles without thinking about or dealing with racism and other oppressions at the systemic level. As a progressive community, UUs tend to think of ourselves as good on issues of racial inequality without always understanding the role that our institutional power as a majority white denomination plays in upholding racial hierarchies. Some of the most important work our congregation will need to do as we consider the 8th principle will be to examine this assumption and start to dismantle systemic racism in our lives and community. To do this, we will likely have to acknowledge previous missteps in the language used regarding marginalized groups, or re-examine our policies to find places where they inadvertently discriminate. We will at times have to acknowledge and sit uncomfortably with the ways that living in a racially unjust society has caused us to adopt racist biases. However, as author Ijoma Oluo says, the beauty of anti-racism is that you don't have to pretend to be free of racism in order to be anti-racist. Anti-racism is the commitment to fight racism wherever you find it, including in yourself. We don't have to be perfect to do the work of the 8th principle in ourselves or in the world. Although the 8th principle references other oppressions, some have asked why it names racism separately. Aren't classism, homophobia, and ableism also serious matters for UUs? Certainly they are, and the 8th principle calls us to address them. However, racism has often gone unnamed in our UU faith communities. We learned 2 weeks ago about the Black Affairs Council's 1969 walkout from General Assembly. That was neither the first nor the last time that interracial tension resulted in UUs of color leaving our denomination. The Reverend Mark Morrison Reed stated in a 2017 article in the UU World that as a Black UU, he identifies with Ralph Ellison's statement in The Invisible Man. I am invisible, understand, simply because people refuse to see me. When they approach me, they see only my surroundings. themselves, or figments of their imagination. Indeed, everything and anything except me. Morrison Reed writes, that has been the Black experience in Unitarian Universalism. By naming racism, the eighth principle invites UUs to see race and our own participation in systemic racism with new eyes and forge a new path for future generations. Could you play video 3, please?
The principle and the inherent worth and dignity of every person. That's not just a saying that you can say, oh yeah, I believe that. You really have to be able to say that every part of your life and every action that you take demonstrates that that's what you believe, and that you're not upholding a system that doesn't believe that. And maybe this is just me being naive, that I know everything is complicated and you can't be there. The more and more socially aware I get, I'm like, everything has a consequence and everything isn't great for everyone. But if you're going to commit to our values, then you have to be intentional about what actions you're taking and what those say about your values. And that if you don't, and that if we're all about inclusivity, at least to me in UU, Unitarian Universalism. So if we're gonna say that we are, then we need to make sure our places are not only inclusive, but welcoming and safe. And if what the BIPOC community of Unitarian Universalism is saying that they need this in order for Unitarian Universalism to be welcoming and safe, then that's what we need to do.
To make sure that our actions count through connecting them with the needs and experiences of the people who are most affected by them. In the case of the eighth principle, UU congregations are charged with finding ways to effectively hold themselves accountable in their work with communities of color and other marginalized groups. Accountability can feel related to authority. Our church is part of the Unitarian Universalist Association, so would the UUA hold us accountable for following the eighth principle? The answer to that question is no. Each UU church votes on the adoption of the eighth principle individually. And if we adopt it, our accountability would be to the members and friends of Westside and to the goals we agree on as a congregation. This kind of accountability will not always be comfortable. Sometimes it will involve tough conversations, letting go of old beliefs, or changing the way we've always done things. Committing to accountability is committing to each other to stay in relationship through those difficult moments and to continue working toward our shared goals. The disability justice and anti-racist activist Mia Mingus asks in her essay, Dreaming Accountability, what if accountability wasn't scary? What if our own accountability wasn't something we ran from, but something we ran towards and desired, appreciated, held as sacred? What if we cherished opportunities to take accountability as precious opportunities to practice liberation? Mingus's words remind us that while accountability may feel like a burden, it's also an opportunity because it gives us a chance to to do work that really counts for ourselves, for our beloved community, and for the web of existence of which we are a part.
And so now we'd like you to please stand in body or spirit and join together in singing our closing hymn today, number 1017, Building a New Way, in your teal hymnal.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free, free of hatred and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is the sea. We can feed our every need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. With this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Hi, my name is Jana Kennard, and I'm the Secretary of the Board, co-leader of the meditation group, and also on the 8th Principle crew. Our closing words today, "We are one," are by the Reverend Dr. Hope Johnson. We are one, a diverse group of proudly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love as best we can. We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, and being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together. We are one.
The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each one of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. And now join me in the congregational closing. Go in peace, justice. Go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. Go in the peace that is created when, together, we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
And please join us for our potluck in the fellowship hall.